You guys have probably noticed this on your end. I'm actually not talking about the picture. I'm talking about this white square here in my browser that has a gear icon. And this is no problem. It's a part of Chrome, or at least I assume it is. I actually don't know. I wanted to bring up something that I've noticed that's happened over the internet very quietly, and it is the loss of property rights over information that you find in the world. You might just think this is just annoying, but I bet you could count thousands of times by now how many times you've had to tell a website that you accept cookies, that you allow cookies on your browser, and just, can you please just close this window so I can see everything. And of course that cookie policy is real. I've programmed cookies. They're a very small kind of technology. Basically, it's just the ability to store a text file on your machine is the cookie thing. And so the website is telling you that, oh, hey, we need permission from you to store your information on your machine. And so they ask you, can I store cookies? And you say yes. And it's presented to you as like, hey, can we have permission to give you a cookie? And everyone's like, oh, look how nice these guys are. Not only do they give me a cookie, but they're going to ask me for permission. And everyone says yes, 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 yes. And the CAPTCHA, we say, I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot, right? It's okay. We want the pellet. The pellet is the access to the other human, is how I look at it. Meaning that the internet is really just human. And your ability to access and communicate with another human has a gatekeeper between you and it. And that this is really the only reason why there are only 2.5 operating systems in the world. This is really the reason why there really are only 2 video card manufacturers. This is the reason why really there's only one company that's allowed to build the processors. And you and I kind of enjoy the fantasy of believing whatever our region wants to believe, to formulate just the pillow where we can build society. And so we invented something called countries. And our clans congealed into countries, and our countries, without anyone noticing, congealed into something else. I think it's better to call it Mount Olympus or Zeus. That really what we congealed into was a Zeus, a centralized network of power. And that centralized network of power is an omnipower. It's not a multilateral power. It's an omnipower. It looks much more like the UN, right? And that really what's happening is that just the veil of the truth of what's happening has slowly been lifting. This is why the UN flag is blue. That blue is the color of Hades, and Hades is the mythos that's been remembered for so long because it's just simply true. And that mythos is that there are certain truths, there are certain colors, there are certain hues that are hard to see, and blue is one of them. And part of that hardest hue is the authority necessary to allow a bunch of people to survive and to provide the best pumice for all of those people to thrive. And we are surrounded with shitty behavior. We are the instruments of our own shitty behavior. And so we have to create this government to do it. And because we like to fantasize, we like to insist that it's the government that capitalizes on the shitty behavior, not us. And then we cannibalize each other and have fun because the fantasy is allowed. And all of that just settles on. And this little diatribe I'm giving you, sorry, that's taking a little bit longer than I wanted it to do, is simply to convey to you that even though I'm telling you that these cookies and that this little gear have meaning and that they're showing you something a little bit more sinister than you might think, The very audience that I would share this with would only end up tearing me apart later for asking them to have an open mind. This dichotomy of appealing to the open mind through people that are going to tear apart the people that actually have an open mind is part of the most beautiful aspects of what it's like to be human, of what it's like to be an emotional carnivore on one level and an angel delivering peace on another. This triune aspect, the trinity of you, right, is this ego, superego, and id, these three different brains that are inside of you. And we're watching all of us argue with ourselves about arguing with ourselves, about which of the three of us is in charge and which of the three of us is even real. And the entire time, someone is allowed to come in and say, hey, we're going to need you to establish a pattern where you're always going to have to accept a terms of service in order to access another human being. That here's a human being in Russia that wants to meet and greet and express pollen with you through ideas. But the blue haze of the gatekeeping between is simply growing stronger. In the EU, people are not allowed to see my personal website, jtrue.com, unless I have an automatic cookie policy page and unless I have a terms of service page. And that this is slowly this new government, this Klaus Schwab government built on public safety. And that's where it will congeal. And it'll congeal not because it used to not be there and it is. It'll congeal because the veil of Hades is slowly being lifted and you're seeing the truth. And the first way we want to see the truth is kind of like a Muppet, like a human Muppet. And that the Muppet is the puppet that's telling you the story that's just simply getting you used to the idea of what's happening all around us, right? That the clothes you wear, the house you own or think you own, the car that you own or think you own, the freedoms that you think you have are terms of service, and that you wake up one day and that those terms of service change. And you really don't have a choice. I'm not here lecturing you saying you should not accept cookies. I think that you need humans to survive. And this is the beautiful folly of humanity. Is that I can tell you this is happening, you can hear it, you can understand it. And we both can literally meet and build an entire universe over the fact that there's nothing either of us are going to do about it. Because the time that we have together is simply too precious. And the connections that we will make by skipping over those borders and just simply finding each other are too important to pay attention to anything else. I don't think this is a flaw. I think this is probably the greatest thing about us, is that. And so even as we watch ourselves tumbling, even as we watch our own people push what feels like you down the hill, right? As you watch, and I really mean this in a broader way. The whole truth movement has really been a journey into that for me, where I've just been like, whoa, wait, we're not gonna be open-minded about this, and the answer is human, and the answer is no. This place is more about fantasy and belief than we're willing to admit. It's so much about fantasy and belief, we fantasize and have beliefs about how it's not. And we're so good at it that we do, and that they congeal. And they congeal so hard that kids are born into the matrix of our fantasy. And we're worried that these kids are going to get lost in the matrix of the television or the matrix of the internet or the matrix of the book even. And that very matrix is the only place that they're going to connect and find each other. And so it becomes a necessity. All of us secretly know we're going to die. And I think that secret knowing that we're going to die is part of why we're able to have this laissez-faire sense of I don't care. I want to dance, right? And so we click the box, right? We click and we say, okay, hi till tomorrow. There's an option, right? Hi till tomorrow. Or never show for this website. And if you click these settings, they're not settings. You can't tell the browser, hey, this is my real estate here. This web page, right, is my real estate. It doesn't belong to you. But your browser's going to say, no, that's not works. But James, why don't you just develop your own browser then? And it's like, well, we did. And Google just helped more, that's all. That the entire open source movement only works because someone comes in and takes it over. This is what you do. You place your virgin on the steps, and you're like, come spoil this virginity. This is what all fruit is here to do. This is the white ass tail of that deer, right? Just begging for an arrow, begging for something to pluck it from this land. And you men out there, you're just begging to have a woman pluck your heart out because there's your on button. And you grow alive the moment that happens, right? All of us have our settings and our cookies. You guys have a great day.